Unfortunately, the actions taken by the Zionist regime, followed by the government of the United States this morning, was never done before in history. Of course, I would like to say that in line with the precautionary measures we had taken and the plans that had been made to protect the safety and health of our dear people, thank God, even with this criminal attack, we did not have any radiation contamination or nuclear exposure beyond our sites. People can continue their normal lives around the site without concern.
US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Sunday that US military strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities were an overwhelming success.
The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people.
Hegseth added that the US military strikes on Iran's nuclear sites were not a preamble to plans for regime change, and that private messages had been sent to Tehran encouraging them to negotiate. Named Operation Midnight Hammer, the attacks pushed the Middle East to the brink in a region already aflame with wars in Gaza and Lebanon, as well as a toppled dictator in Syria. After days of deliberation and before his self-imposed two-week deadline, Trump decided to join Israel's military campaign against Iran.
For the entirety of his time in office, President Trump has consistently stated for over 10 years that Iran must not get a nuclear weapon. Full stop.
Reacting on Sunday, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the country reserves all options to defend its security, and that Tehran would not return to diplomacy while under attack by Israel and the United States. Speaking in Istanbul, he said Tehran was weighing its options for retaliation. On Sunday, residents in several districts of Israel were assessing damage to sites hit by Iranian missiles. In Tel Aviv, devastated homes were visited by the president and the mayor.
Oil prices climbed to their highest in 5 months on Monday as fears grew over what conflict in the Middle East could mean for supplies. Traders are waiting to see what Iran does next after the US struck its key nuclear facilities. Media reports say the country's parliament has approved a move to close the Strait of Hormuz. That's the narrow waterway between Iran and Oman, through which around a fifth of the world's oil is moved. Although there are also pipeline routes out of the region, experts say they won't be enough to make up for a halt to shipping. The concern saw international benchmark Brent crude up around 1.5% in Asian morning trade Monday, with US crude posting similar gains. Both are up 10% or more since the conflict began. One analyst told Reuters that a move by Iran to disrupt shipping could see oil hit $100 per barrel, up from around $78 now. That could spur inflation and mean higher gasoline prices around the world. Stocks headed the other way on Monday, with Japan's Nikkei index down 0.5% early on. But analysts said there was no sign yet of panic selling across markets. Optimists cited hopes that regime change in Iran could bring a more moderate government to power, though analysts at JP Morgan cautioned that past episodes of upheaval in the Middle East typically resulted in oil prices spiking by 76%.
Qui ont commencé déjà alors. Je suis ici aussi pour parler de la Palestine.
They don't seem concerned about the human toll that a global war will take. We see that the fighting is now escalating more and more. We're here to say that that's enough and it's time for the bombing to end.
Several people were killed and dozens injured when a suicide bomber blew himself up at a Greek Orthodox church in Syria's capital Damascus on Sunday. That's according to local health authorities and security sources. Syria's Interior Ministry said the suicide bomber was a member of Islamic State. He entered the Mar Elias church, opened fire, and detonated his explosive vest. A security source said 2 men were involved in the attack, including the one who blew himself up. The priest said he heard gunfire outside the church before 2 people entered with explosive belts and detonated them during Sunday Mass. It was the first suicide bombing in Damascus since former President Bashar al-Assad was toppled by an Islamist-led rebel insurgency in December. Islamic State has been behind several attempted attacks on churches in Syria since Assad's fall, but this was the first to succeed, according to another security source. Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, who led the offensive against Assad before taking over in January for a transitional phase, has repeatedly said he will protect minorities. In a statement, the Greek Foreign Ministry condemned what it called an abhorrent attack. The latest assault underscores Islamic State's continued ability to exploit security gaps despite the collapse of its territorial control and years of counterterrorism efforts.
公山镇它是位于在一个盆地中，它的四周都是高山。每次有这个降雨的时候呢，这个雨水就会迅速的汇集到这里的路面上。在前方那里有3个天然洞穴，最深的一个呢，大概有300多米。
手给我们拉你上船。
21号上午，广西河池金城江区洪水倒灌，致使广西现代职业技术学院不明，官兵们采取浅水区人力推拉的方式进行转移。到21号中午，已累计救出40余名学生。
Before going to sleep, I prayed to God. God, give me a chance to fall asleep and wake up peacefully. Please, help me wake up today so that I wouldn't have to go to the bomb shelter.
To be honest, it wasn't like I got scared. It was more like my life was frozen. You're frozen looking at all of it and thinking about how you will live.